It has been a weather impact week that will not let up. Tornadoes, hail, lightning, and rain all at a dangerous pace. And worries now about water and amounts that could cause some serious problems. You have a live look right now at I-65 near 38th Street. That's where we're seeing drivers already just seem to be running into flooding issues. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Felicia Lawrence, and for Scott Swan tonight. And Angela, flash flood warning was just added in the last hour?
Yes, I'm going to start with that, Felicia. In this flash flood warning area, radar is estimating 2 to 4 inches of rain has fallen just within the last several hours. There's the highlighted area of the flash flood warning. It does include all of Marion County back through Terre Haute, basically along and just north and south of I-70. And it's this area radar is estimating 2 to as much as 4 inches of rain. Flash flood warning, flood watch for all of us, and all of our rivers now under flood warnings as well. Rising water is going to be a big issue, not only tonight, but as we head into the weekend. And in that flash flood warning area, additional heavy rain is starting to move in just south of Terre Haute. This will head into Brazil, Greencastle, Spencer, Ellettsville, Bloomington, and eventually into the Indianapolis area. Heavy rain falling south of Greenwood into Franklin. We have heavy rain in Greenfield and Shelbyville. This will continue to fall over the next several hours, and we don't get out of this weather pattern until early Sunday. For now, the threat of severe weather is just to our southwest, but also new in the last hour and a half from the National Weather Service. The tornado count from April 2nd, Wednesday, is 8 across central Indiana. A northern Lapel tornado, EF1, southern Lapel tornado, EF2, and a Madison, Delaware, EF2 tornado. I'll have a map in a few minutes.
All right, Angela, and there are growing concerns tonight about those rising flood waters. They're already taking over fields across Jackson County, and it all just happens so fast. It's not just the fields underwater, it's the woods and even a parking lot. That's why Indiana conservation officers are prepared to respond if the situation gets worse. They say now is the time to prepare.
When I got this job, the first thing that people told me is that when it rains, Jackson County floods. And I was talking to another conservation officer who was doing this for 19 years, and he said that this is the highest river he's ever seen, and it's only going to get higher.
Jackson County could see up to 7 more inches of rain before Sunday, when the White River is expected to crest there. In Shelby County, there is an evacuation order in place, and it's for people living in low-lying and flood-prone areas. Residents in those areas are urged to leave, and if people refuse, emergency responders say law enforcement may intervene. According to the sheriff's office, its water rescue team is on standby to help with evacuations or possible rescues. There are now Red Cross shelters open in Shelby County. We have locations right now at WTHR.com. And this week, we have seen just how scary these storms can be, but the aftermath of those storms can be just as dangerous. A Hendricks County family now grieving after 27-year-old Nathan Merritt came into contact with fallen power lines near Danville. He died at the scene. Tonight, our Logan Gay talked with his loved ones about their loss and what they hope it can teach others about not taking life for granted.
It's not supposed to happen this way. I was supposed to go first.
The family of 27-year-old Nathan Merritt are still trying to come to grips with how their lives changed forever within seconds on Wednesday.
It sounded like he got blown away by a tornado, like just taken, and that's what it sounded like. But I didn't know it was power lines.
Nathan's wife Amber says he was on his way home after meeting up with her at a Walmart. She says at the time it was pitch black and pouring rain.
He couldn't see anything and he was scared. And he said, just stay on the phone for a few. And I told him, I said, you need to pull over if you can't see.
But before he could pull over, he accidentally ran over a down power line and his truck caught fire. Seeing the flames, his sister says Nathan stepped out of his truck and onto a live wire. Amber was on the phone the entire time and heard everything.
I cannot tell you the pain that I feel of having to remember this for the rest of my life. But the last moans and like yelling and him saying no, no, no will haunt me for the rest of my life. And I didn't know what was happening.
She and Nathan's family searched for him for 3 hours. They eventually made it to County Road 75 West, where police and other first responders were already on scene. They waited 45 minutes to find out any news about Nathan, but for them, it felt like a lifetime.
Something's really wrong. It's been long enough. They should have called by now. They should have found something out. And I knew.
Police later confirmed the man lying near the truck was Nathan. Now, instead of seeing him sitting around this dinner table, they look at pictures on their phone when they want to see his face. Or his 3-year-old son, who they say looks just like him.
When he walked in a room, he lit it up.
I was just with him, and if I had known that the storms were going to be this bad, I would have kept him there with me a little bit longer.
But just like most priceless things, one may measure life by quality, not quantity.
Never take life for granted.
Do not take it for granted.
I thank God that God gave me him as long as I had him. I love him so much.
And that will never change. In Danville, Logan Gay, 13 News.
All right, thanks to Logan there for sharing that family story. And the EF2 tornado that hit Hendricks County caused widespread damage. We were on scene as emergency responders worked to free a woman trapped in what was left of a warehouse in Brownsburg. Well, tonight, for the first time, we're hearing from a member of the fire territory who was part of the rescue team.
They can hear her and they can hear her screaming and yelling, but they couldn't see her. So they had to do some pretty significant digging to get her out.
A woman trapped under the rubble of Sur La Table warehouse on Northfield Drive.
It was a big piece of concrete that was laying at an angle, and she was down underneath that.
A confirmed tornado with 120-mile-per-hour winds caused a concrete wall and part of the roof to collapse.
We know that she's alive. We know that she's in there, and we're just trying to get in there and get her out as quick as possible, but as safe as possible as well.
Firefighters concerned about the safety of the structure for her sake and theirs as well. 2 hours later, the woman emerged awake and alert with scrapes and bruises.
They were able to get her on the cot, get her in the ambulance, do a pretty quick assessment on her and get her to a hospital to be checked out.
The chief of operations at Brownsburg Fire Territory says they haven't seen damage like this in his time there, but they're more than prepared with their training.
We're always going to be there to help. We're always going to help, if they're sick or they're injured or no matter what. That's why we're here.
The Indiana National Guard has also been assisting storm recovery efforts, and starting Monday, the street department will start collecting trees and limbs cut into lengths of 10 feet or shorter from Brownsburg residents. They just ask that you place the limbs by the curb for pickup there. And as we monitor the incoming storms and rain, you can follow along with our weather team anytime. Just download WTHR Plus. It's our free app on Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick, and Roku. That is where you can find in-depth forecasting before, during, and after severe weather hits. Here's a look at other stories making headlines right now. Tonight, a 19-year-old is under arrest, accused of entering a home through a bedroom window and killing an 18-year-old. Jaden Godfrey died in that shooting. It happened Wednesday afternoon near 32nd and MLK. Detectives say the suspect told them Godfrey pointed a gun at him first before he fired. But a witness says Godfrey did not have a gun. The suspect is now facing a preliminary murder charge. And now the trial for a man accused of killing an Elwood police officer is getting pushed back. According to the Madison County Prosecutor's Office, Carl Boards II will go on trial in January instead of September. The defense asked for the change because Boards is still under evaluation for intellectual disability and a possible insanity defense. Boards is accused of killing Officer Noah Chanovez during a traffic stop in July of 2022. And a portion of US 31 in Johnson County will honor a fallen state trooper. This week, the state Senate approved a resolution to rename the stretch from Smith Valley Road to County Line Road as State Trooper Aaron Smith Memorial Highway. Smith was killed in 2023 while helping fellow troopers during a car chase. And Purdue students will pay the same price for school for the 14th straight year. The Board of Trustees just endorsed extending the university's tuition freeze. So that means base undergraduate tuition will stay just below $10 grand for in-state students through the 26-27 school year. The decision requires formal approval in June. Remember, you can find all the latest local stories anytime on our 13 News app.